Welcome, Tina.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, I had to have you. We need to go deeper into fibroids. And I remember my mom had fibroids. And she ended up having a hysterectomy. And after that hysterectomy, she was never the same. The doctors thought she had depression because of the hysterectomy and the hormonal changes, because everything looked like that. She was depressed, she had memory loss, she was just a different person. But what happened, we believe, is during the surgery she had a stroke. It was a mini stroke, so it didn't change her physically, it changed her emotionally. And we didn't know that she was having strokes for about a year until she had a massive stroke. And she ended up passing. And I just think it's so important that we educate ourselves, because I just believe what the doctor said. You know, she had a hysterectomy, that was depression. No, it wasn't depression, it was something else going on.
That's right.
And so, tell us about, what are fibroids?
For starters, I'm so sorry that your mom had to go through that. And I want to say this to all the women in the room, because currently right now in the United States of America, 600,000 women annually are having hysterectomies. The doctors are offering them a dime a dozen, and no one's talking about the fact that you can heal naturally, right? But then even as women, a lot of times we don't know that our uterus is more than just creating a baby, but it's your life source. It's energy connected to it. A lot of women change right away after getting hysterectomies. And also in my work, a lot of women who I have coached with that come and coach with me, and sometimes they have already had hysterectomies, they look up a few years later, then they have breast cancer or cervical cancer or something else, because the same hormonal imbalances that can cause fibroids, it can also cause so many other issues, including strokes and cancers and autoimmune diseases, and the list goes on and on. Okay? So fibroids, depending on who you ask. If you ask the medical world, they just say that it's a muscle-like growth, it's just a tissue that is just there. If you ask the wellness world, there's a whole different conversation about it, right? And we usually start with, what is it a result of? And it's a result of stress, trauma, diet, imbalanced lymphatic flow, there's liver congestion, there's so many other things involved in that. So that's the long and the short answer. One of the best things that we can do to avoid fibroids is to really understand what causes them. Can I share a little bit of my story? Okay. So, 16 years old, pregnant, 17 years old, had my son. I'm still enrolled in college. After freshman year, my 2-year-old son got hit and killed by a car. Okay? And it was such a heavy blow. I was just still that teenage girl trying to figure out how to do regular everyday teenage stuff in high school. And then now I'm a mom, right? Embraced it all. We talking daycare expenses and Pampers and clothes, and my days were so long. And because I was pregnant with my son, I knew that financially I needed to start making money. So I'm in high school and cosmetology school at the same time. There was so much happening. But the reality is I loved it, and I loved the motherhood. And when my son died, I didn't know how I was going to sustain emotionally. I was probably one of the most sensitive girls that I knew. And so it became a family rule. All my friends knew. After this funeral, we have to act like it didn't happen. His life or his death. Here goes self-suppression. And it was so many holidays, like Mother's Days and stuff that was coming around, that was still misery for me. And it had been. And then there was infertility. That was not supposed to be a part of my story. My story was supposed to be, she, teenage mom, lost her son, got married, went on to have 2-3 more babies, right? So we're talking about trauma. We're talking about grief. My diet was a wreck. I tell people in a heartbeat, part of how I made it through the losing of my son was retail therapy and going out to eat every day. And I didn't care where the going out to eat was. Now, I preferred to go to Outback. That used to be my favorite restaurant back in the day. I'd like to roll up in that thing and I would start out with the salad, because I was healthy, hold the bacon, because I don't eat that. Stopped eating pork as a teenager, but loaded up with the cheese and give me the tangy tomato dressing and the Italian. Then I would get the pumpernickel bread. Please bring me 2 butters. I would get the Aussie cheese fries to hold the bacon, because remember, I'm kind of healthy out here. I don't eat bacon. And then I would order the Alice Springs chicken, but baby, hold that bacon, because I don't eat that. Give me that loaded baked potato, but don't put that bacon on there, right? And then I would get dessert. Did I eat all of that? Yes. Oh, I forgot about the blooming onion, because I would get a blooming onion too. And we're talking, that's just one meal, right? And when I would eat this food, I would hum and I would rock. I was cool with going on a date to the restaurant, going out with girlfriends, going by myself. And imagine eating like that every single day, 3 times per day. But the food made me feel good. Right? And I couldn't get rid of that muffin top beyond about a week or so. And so what happened? How did I get the fibroids? Stress, trauma, diet, self-suppression, holding all this anger in. Let's not talk about the unforgiveness part, because my son, who was 2 years old, got hit and killed by a car. That day he was with my cousin, right? Because he was up at his dad's house for the weekend. One of his dad's best friends happened to be my blood cousin. My son's father called me and said, hey, Jason's over here. Kevin's ready to come home. I'm not ready yet. Can Jason bring him home? And I said, yes. I get a call 20 minutes later that my son just got hit by a car. Get to the hospital, the story that Jason told me was very different than the story that he told multiple people throughout the day at the hospital. What really happened? Then I found out about a month later, the girl that hit my son was actually a girl my cousin was dating, even when my son got hit. Like, what the hell really happened? And to this day, I can't even tell you. And it's been over 20 years. What happened? So we're just talking about all of this stuff. That's the recipe for fibroids.
So I'm sorry to hear about your son.
Thank you.
But you said something that is so common in our community. It's about the suppression of stress and the trauma. We don't talk about stuff. We don't heal from stuff. We just carry this, this weight, and it impacts us. It's going to show up in our life some way, and it just makes me think about my mom, because my mom was a victim of domestic abuse. My dad used to beat my mom. And the next day we would get up and go like nothing happened. My mom would have black eyes. We never talked about it. And that was traumatized not only for my mother, but for me. And, and it took me years to begin to heal from that. I had to get therapy. I'm still in therapy, because we don't realize oftentimes the impact of, those experiences, because we were taught not to talk about it.
And carry on.
And carry on.
Fix your face and carry on.
Yeah. And we're the walking wounded. We are the walking wounded. And so, it is so funny you talk about you thought you was healthy. You said it was healthy. I was saying the same thing. I was healthy because I didn't eat pork. I don't eat ribs. Y'all unhealthy. Y'all eat pork ribs. I don't eat this. You shouldn't eat this. Y'all are healthy because y'all got the ribs. And that was my mentality, because that's what I was taught, that ribs aren't good. They got the little worms and stuff in it, but everything else is where does someone, let's talk about someone who's dealing with fibroids right now. What should they be doing? What should they be doing?
Oh, they should be talking to me. For starters, okay, I am an advocate, fan of getting your blood panel done, right? Because everybody does not need the same, everyone does not need to heal from the same thing, okay? As a fibroid coach of the last 3 years, at this point I have probably coached with maybe 125, maybe 135 women, right? I have a 90% success rate of getting my clients out of heavy and painful periods in the first 30 to 60 days, right? 90% success rate. Now, when it comes down to eliminating the fibroids in itself, that's a different story, because it depends on what your body needs at that time, right? I've had fibroids 3 different times. The first time I got diagnosed with 5 fibroids, right? The largest one was the size of a plum, and it was sitting in my ovary. How did I find out that I had that fibroid? I felt a nagging sensation on a scale of 1 to 10. It was like a 1.5. But to me, that was my body letting me know something was going on. I went to the doctor. The doctor's feeling on my abdomen. She's like, everything feels like the way that it's supposed to feel. She was like, do you feel anything today? No, what I did the other day. Can I get an ultrasound? She said, yes, that's how I found out that I had 5 fibroids. I eliminated all 5 of those fibroids, right? And then a year and a half later, still dealing with mental and emotional stuff, I was on a 28-day fast. On the 27th day, I woke up to a mess down there. The fibroid came out. I didn't even know I had another fibroid, but clearly it was large because it was massive. And it came out, right? And then about 2 years later, maybe 3, transitioned to a vegan dietary lifestyle. And I remember being so excited. And I did it wrong and grew a 13-centimeter fibroid in 6 months. So when you talk to me about a vegan lifestyle, I'm like, well, what kind? Like, what it look like, right? Because vegan ain't the end-all, be-all,
That's right.
right? If you're doing it the wrong way.
Right.
And I was doing it the wrong way, right? So there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I found that in 45 days, I was able to shrink that fibroid down half the size in 45 days. But I got stuck right there. I couldn't, no matter what I did, when I was doing what I was doing when I eliminated the 5 fibroids, when I eliminated the one that I didn't even know that I had, when I was doing all of those things, it still would not come out. I brought my test results today. I was like, I got it. If he asked me this question, I'm about to read this off. So 6 months ago, I ended up hiring a hormone doctor because it just wasn't making sense. Why is it in 14 years of being on no birth control, not one pregnancy? Let's have an honest conversation, right? Why is it that I cannot shrink this fibroid down beyond the size that it is? And I was going back and forth to doctors, reproductive endocrinologists, regular gynecologists. Well, I found out about hormone testing from a holistic perspective. This is my result 6 months ago, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know anybody that lives a plant-based lifestyle healthier than my husband and myself. I have these conversations with plant-based people, with vegan people. I've done the water fasting and multiple juice fasts. I've done 5 water fasts, right? I've done multiple juice fasts. I go on 60-day cleanses and all sorts of things, and it just won't go away. So let me read y'all my results from getting advanced testing done. This is 6 months ago, right? Now, in 6 months ago, my dad was dying. To watch a parent that you love actively dying, to watch your favorite person on the planet Earth dying and nothing you can do about it, right? And then my dad died December 15th. 25 days later, one of my closest friends of 30 plus years died. Brain cancer, breast cancer, right? I got myself in therapy right away. I just had my 8th therapy session the other day, right? But let me read y'all the results from 6 months ago. I had, now, I'm plant-based, real clean plant-based. Low omegas, low CoQ10, low stomach acid, H. pylori, which is the intestinal bacteria that can be the precursor for stomach cancer and ulcers. 3 low amino acids, proteins. Amino acids are the building blocks for proteins, right? And there's 20 amino acids. 3 of mine were low. Low magnesium, low zinc, low DHEA, fatigued adrenals, low cortisol, low testosterone, low estrogen, super high tox panel. I was a hairstylist for 23 years and 8 months. When the doctors were reading my results, they like, did you grow up next door to a factory, a plant? How are your tox panels all the way in the red, as far as they could go, and you live the lifestyle that you live? Well, these toxins from all these years get stored inside of your cells, inside of your blood. And on top of that, I also had low vitamin D. These are 14 things. These are from 6 months ago. So when the question is, what does a woman need to do to heal fibroids? She needs to find out what the problem is first. Yeah, this is the answer to why I got stuck after not being able to shrink this last fibroid. This is the answer to why there has been all these years of infertility.
That's so true because a lot of times people just think, they change their lifestyle, that all the damage that's been done for years just goes away.
Yeah.
But healing is a process. And sometimes it's a long process to healing. And sometimes it doesn't look like you're healing, you feel like you're healing. And sometimes you can be discouraged. And it's so important to get those, to get that blood work so that you know exactly what's going on in your body, to see where you're deficient and see what you need to do. And get you a little bit of therapy.
Yes.
Because I think, we all have been through stuff. We don't have the tools to deal with, if we did, things would be okay. We don't oftentimes have the tools. We think we got it all together. And we find ourselves in these cycles, like, why keep ending up in the same spot? Why keep dealing with the same issues with different people, same issues with different people? And it's a lot of times because we have, that unhealed trauma that we don't like to talk about, And I know, like, in my own family, me even sharing that my dad was abusive to my mom, it hits my dad's family members some kind of way. But it's my truth.
Right.
And it's my truth. And I know that, that was your brother, but I know what I experienced. Right. And it doesn't make my dad a bad person. That's what I learned in therapy. Two things can be true. I wish I had another dad, but I love my dad. I love my dad dearly. But, and I realized he did the best he could. And part of, my getting therapy, and I wish I would have gotten it earlier because I know my son's gonna need therapy for some of the stuff I did, did it unknowingly. We do things unknowingly to our children because we just don't know, and just in terms of how we discipline them or how we react, particularly when we're under stress. Don't let you be stressed out. Your kid has a simple question and you act like he just tore up something and just blew up something. He didn't ask you a simple question. Just think about the trauma that causes to your child.
Yeah.
Daddy, can I have something? Boy, you know how we do. It's like, Jesus, where is the safe place for our children?
Right.
Where is the safe place for our children? So, before we let the fibroid coach go, we've got a few minutes for 3 questions. Right here in front.
Hey, sorry. Okay, so you mentioned the hormone test. How do you get that? And is it like a blood test or something?
Initially, I was doing a lot of blood testing, right? This last time I did far beyond blood testing. I did blood testing, I did stool testing, I did so much testing. The doctor was like, we testing for everything. So if you drop in my DM, then I can give you more information, even with the practitioner that I coached with.
Okay.
And so, what's your Instagram?
Yeah, my Instagram, you can find me 2 ways. You can find me at Tina Marie Fuller. So Tina Marie Fuller. Or you can find me at Fuller Quest. And FYI, I wrote a book about fibroid healing. Rashawn, can you pull out one of those books? It hit #1 bestseller in 7 categories on Amazon.
Come on,
And it's all kinds of answers in that book. I only brought a few copies with me today, just FYI. Thank you. And Michelle was my homie.
Yeah. She could cook. You ain't mention your cooking for her.
Got the mic?
Yeah. I had a question. I wanted to know what was your career path, like how did you get to be a primary coach in like education wise, or like did you have to go to school or like,
That's a great question. So I mentioned that I was a hairstylist for 23 years and 8 months, right? And so
Why you know all those details? 8 months. Why?
8 months matter when you standing there styling and listening to everybody's problems, and them 8 months matter, baby. So I was a stylist and I was on my healing journey. I spent thousands of dollars to learn how to heal. Okay, I have easily probably spent about $22,000, maybe even a little bit more, with going to all the doctors and consultations. But to answer your question, I took 2 certification programs, one up through the Institute of Integrated Nutrition, which was a year span, and then I also got my 2nd certification through Emory University. My friend Tina told me about that. So that's where I got my certifications from. I learned a lot about the body and how to heal those institutions, but when it came down to learning how to heal the wound, a lot of it was experimentation on myself. A lot of it was research. A lot of it was talking to people like my homie Michelle, and then all of the iridologists, kinesiologists, Chinese medicine doctors, functional medicine doctors who I was going to see. So it took about maybe 8 years of compiling information to even get the information for this book that I utilized to help my clients heal.
One more question?
I didn't necessarily hear you mention it, but what role did your faith, your belief in God play during just your entire journey? Like you said, what happened earlier on, but then also, you know, scripturally, we hear often about infertility with the women and God having this divine plan, but how were you able to steward well your process, healing, helping other people heal, and then, you know?
I have never had anybody ask me that question, and I'm so glad that you asked me that. Okay? I am a Jesus Christ girl to my core. No matter what I go through, even though hurt and trauma happens, my belief is never shaken, right? My faith has sustained my sanity. I could not have made it. I would have lost myself so long ago. You have to realize that I was the 8-year-old girl who my life's dream was to be the best wife and mom ever. I never intended to be a teenage mom, but motherhood came to me easy because it's all I ever wanted to be, right? And then even to be married 14 years and infertility, the shame, the hurt, the embarrassment, the loneliness, even when you're married to somebody and there's just this huge loneliness, and now to be to this space of just radical joy from the inside that oozes out. Like this is I've seen it, even though personally, like this is just who I am. Ask my husband, like this is just who and how I am. And only God could have done that. And we have to be careful because there is constantly an attack on our mental, physical, and spiritual self. And sometimes things happen in life and we decide God is not real because of what has happened. That's so false. It's a false narrative. We all are going through something. You know, and that's just the answer. That's the faith. How has it come into place? 100%. Highly recommend it.
Come on, baby. Get it up and keep it forward.
It's